Welcome back to Boat Break. In today's video, I'm going to recommend some of the best campus novels. A book subgenre that we know is incredibly popular. If the popularity of the dark academia aesthetic is anything to go by, people love a good campus novel. Starting, of course, with arguably the ultimate campus novel, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which is set at this elite New England college about a group of students who form a society led by their very charismatic classics professor. The book is in part about their study of classics, about their intellectual passion, but it is also a lot darker than that, and we know right from the very first line of the book that someone is going to die. Knowing that right from the beginning, it is then fascinating to watch this group discover this society, discover ways of thinking that go beyond the normal boundaries of society, but then, as well as that, go beyond the normal boundaries of morality, and so they find themselves going into a darker and darker place. I loved this book. It is a modern classic, and it's got to be at least partly responsible for why campus novels are so popular. But then for something really, really different, Disorientation by Elaine Shea Chu, which is funny, where The Secret History was dark. Disorientation is a satire that is making fun of the exact white academia that we see in The Secret History. It's also a send-up of privilege and power. It makes fun of Asian fetishists. It makes fun of what is described here as twee boba tea liberalism. It's about a PhD student called Ingrid Yang who is just desperate to finish her dissertation and get out of there. But then she discovers a strange, mysterious note which ends up leading her on this literary journey that becomes a journey of self-discovery, forcing her to confront her relationship to white men, to white institutions, and most importantly, to herself. And along the way, it has had everyone in stitches. Aravind Adiga said, "This is the funniest novel I've read all year." Then for something very controversial, Vladimir by Julia May Jonas is about a married couple who are both professors at the same university. They have an open marriage and have been very understanding about that, but then the husband comes under investigation for inappropriate relationships with former students, and suddenly their agreement becomes a lot more uncomfortable. The book is narrated by the wife, who is a wonderfully unlikable narrator, and as well as dealing with her husband's situation, she also herself becomes completely obsessed with a handsome young author who has just arrived at the university, and we watch her spiral into this deep obsession. On a similar theme to that book is My Education by Susan Choi, which is about a grad student called Regina who has been warned about her professor and his inappropriate relationships with students, but nobody warned her about his wife Martha and how seductive she was going to be. And the book is narrated from 15 years later, so we get the benefit of hindsight looking back on what happened. On Beauty by Zadie Smith is another very famous campus novel that's loosely based on the book Howard's End. So this book is about a professor called Howard. He is a Rembrandt professor who doesn't even like Rembrandt. He's been married for 30 years to a woman who is no longer the sexy activist that he fell for, and his children are all so passionate about their very, very different enthusiasms that it is exhausting. And then on top of all of that, Howard's son falls for the daughter of a right-wing icon, and the families are thrown into this cultural war. The Red Word by Sarah Henstra is another one that is super controversial. This is set in the 90s and it's about frat culture. So our main character is a uni student called Karen who falls in with this group of radical queer feminists who all live together in this all-female house. But at the same time, she is dating a guy in a fraternity, and so she ends up caught in the middle of these two very, very different worlds battling against each other. The more that Karen speaks with her feminist housemates, they call themselves the Raghurst women, the more she understands the terrible problems within fraternity culture, but she continues to have one foot in that world, which gives the Raghurst women an idea for how they can use her to put into motion a plan to bring down the fraternity, and this comes at a terrible cost. I definitely want to mention a trigger warning for sexual assault in this book. This book is bound to be incredibly divisive, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. Then there's The Hiding Game by Naomi Wood. I've got the hardback here, but I'll show you this is what the paperback cover looks like. So very, very different. This is set in 1920s Germany at the Bauhaus Art School. Three friends meet at the school and form this incredibly close, tight-knit friendship, but then one of them, Walter, does something terrible, which he then tries to keep a secret from the other two, even as it starts to threaten their lives. And the book is about art. Walter's secret is hidden in notebooks, in paintings, in blueprints, and it's all set against this incredibly tense political backdrop. For something totally different, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell is also a popular campus novel. This one is about the fact that going to university isn't always as romantic as it seems in books. In fact, Kath is not enjoying it at all. She is an introvert and doesn't really fit in or want to join in with a lot of the college culture. She's really missing her twin sister, and her main passion is writing fan fiction, which her professor doesn't approve of at all. But somehow, Kath finds a way to open up her world. Let me know in the comments below your favourite campus novels. Such a fun subgenre, so I'd love your recommendations. And I will link here to a video I made recommending controversial books that will start a conversation. So do click through and watch that, and I'll see you next time.